Hi, and welcome to the Rags to Riches show with myself, Terry Blackburn. Now, today's guest is a guy called Nathan Winch. He's a really successful entrepreneur. He's a private equity investor and an avid property investor as well. He's got quite a bit of experience in starting, scaling, and selling multiple businesses across multiple industries. Been really successful at that. His collective businesses that he's involved in or has an interest in or controls turns over in excess of 35 million. So I think there'll definitely be some gems and some knowledge and some lessons that Nathan can share with us around businesses. So welcome to the show, Nathan.
Hiya, Terry. How are you doing?
I am always good, and I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
That's what we like to hear. Yeah, everyone's nice and well.
Good, definitely. Nice and refreshed from the Christmas break, ready to attack the year.
That's it.
Yeah, man. So thank you very much for coming on, Nathan. You're a very busy man. Followed you on Instagram for a while. You're always doing something, always buying something or selling something on you. So
that's it. Yeah.
I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. So what we'd like to talk about on the show, Nathan, is the three parts of your career so far. So first one being the start. So how you got into, buying, selling businesses. The middle part is the growth part, sort of any key highlights, key milestones, achievements that you've had so far that you like to share, and any lessons. And then also the current part. So that's what your attention is on right now. You're a young guy. So you might probably got big aspirations of where you're going to go in the future. So maybe sharing a little bit about that. What I think will be quite interesting would be sharing your view or your opinion on business sectors and industries that may be great in the future or are really going to flourish in the future. So could you start by just telling us a little bit about that start part, how you got into doing what you're doing? And Nathan, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I've always kind of, I guess you don't call yourself an entrepreneur. It sounds a bit pompous, doesn't it? You've got to let other people call you it. But no, I've been quite entrepreneurial for ages, years. And I think it kind of started in school. So I started our school's first newspaper, run by students, that sort of thing. I think that's where it started. And then at uni, dabbled in some stuff, did some web design, that sort of stuff. And then when I was in my sort of work placement year, I worked in the NHS a little bit, and I was buying stuff for the NHS as part of my role, what I was doing there. And I noticed that, the NHS was paying a fortune for everything. And I think the thing that kind of made me think, because bearing in mind I was always quite entrepreneurial anyway, I looked at it and I saw in the catalogue, because the NHS can pretty much only buy from one place. In this catalogue, I was looking at like a fork or something, and it was like £3 for a fork. And I was thinking, the NHS isn't underfunded, it's misfunded. And I think one of those things, I looked into it, and basically there's this monopoly of big businesses, or there was at the time, that kind of had this grip hold over the NHS. Typically, I guess the mindset is, if you want to supply the NHS, you've got to be huge, right? So I guess that the mindset thing stopped smaller players coming into the market. This was like over 10 years ago, so things were a lot different. So I thought, well, sod it, I started a business, bid on an NHS contract, fast-moving consumables, so things like hand sanitizer, and we ended up winning a share of a massive £40 million contract. Now, this just to kind of set the scene, Terry, I was a student. I had absolutely nothing whatsoever, no money, nothing. The company must have been like a week old, and we got awarded this huge, massive contract. Well, of course, I guess that goes to show that it's pretty much mindset that stops people from doing these things. But I thought, well, sod it, did it and won it. And I was like, crap, what do I do now? Because I've got to supply the NHS. I've got no money whatsoever. So I kind of scrambled around looking for investors, looking for people in the industry, because I studied molecular biology at uni. So that's why I went into things like hand sanitizer and medical supplies. But I didn't know anything about the actual supply chain and the logistics of the NHS and everything else. So I had to get people on board, giving away equity in the business, and managed to find an investor that put 100 grand in. And we got off, started kicking it off, importing stuff, manufacturing stuff. We got a unit, your normal traditional business story, I guess. And it grew, hit some snags with some investors, and we ended up selling the business to, I raised some money against houses and things like that, and parents' houses and stuff. Bought out this investor. That's it. This investor was causing a bit of trouble, so I had to buy him out. And then I thought, well, we'll sell the business because I could see that I could make some money doing that. So we sold the business to one of our suppliers, actually, to one of our chemical suppliers, and that's what it was. So coming round to my point is, when I sold that business, I made more money in that 48 hours than the whole 5 years combined previous. So I thought, oh, wow, there must be something in this. I've made, all that money then, and I've been paying myself next to nothing running the business. And I thought, maybe this is a business, selling businesses. So not as a broker, but, as kind of building them and selling them or doing something else. And so I started that. So I did a bit of freelancing, essentially met with some companies that kind of knew who I was, because the industry specific media and publications talked a lot about what we were doing, because we were very, very small, taking David and Goliath, that sort of story. So a lot of people picked it up, and people were getting in touch and wanted me to help them get NHS contracts. So I thought, I'll do a bit of freelance contracting sort of thing. Money was all right, but I thought, well, maybe I could set up a business, get a contract and sell that business rather than get paid a day rate for helping them. So I did that, and I started a business, got an NHS contract, no trading, and someone was willing to buy it. And I thought, oh, wow, there's this selling businesses thing is very, very good money. So I thought, well, I'll get into this a bit more. So I went down the road, used some of my money. I built a little bit of a portfolio by this point of property as well, which I could leverage off. And I thought, well, we'll start trying to buy businesses. I mean, if you buy a business, it shortcuts all the blood, sweat and tears, doesn't it? As well as provides another entrepreneur with an exit, and they can make money, and et cetera, et cetera. So I started doing these small acquisitions, trying to leverage as much as possible to use as little of my own equity as possible, as you do. Property investors will know that only too well. And just gradually got bigger and bigger to the point where we were pretty much what's known as a private equity firm. So an investment company that buys and sells businesses, or buys businesses, does something to them to add value, and then sells them. So started networking with people in the industry, got myself somewhat of a mentor, not a mentor really, but someone I can bounce ideas off, who runs a huge £1 billion private equity firm. And it just grew from there, Terry. And over the last, what I'm doing now, I've only really been doing seriously for like the past 3 years-ish. So it's not a very long time at all. But in that time, we've exploded in growth. And we're doing some really good stuff. Got some really big banks that are on my side now to help me with various things. We can now easily borrow millions and millions of pounds, and it just, what it's like, it snowballs, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in gorgeous office space with loads of staff, and we've recently broken over the 100th full-time member of staff. So it's, to say it's exploded is probably an understatement, to be fair. I've just been sat here, Terry, like in the passenger seat, thinking, what's happening? But yeah, the hard work's starting to pay off. Yeah. So to cut a long story long, I guess that's how I got into what I'm doing now, which is, buying and selling businesses, I suppose.
I think it's a great story, mate, and fair play. So what you've done and what you're achieving, and when near done, I feel, speaking to you, I can see that you still want to do a lot more, and you definitely will do a lot more. It's just fair play to you, going from, everyone's got that catalyst, right? That something that happens to you or because of you, then it sparks something off. Like you said, it was, you sold it, then you were doing the day rate stuff, and you were like, well, why don't I just... Now, once you do one, you do another one. Exactly. The mentor, I think, is a great point. Because I think I done a post on this just the other day. Actually, people say that they're self-made, but in reality, nobody's really self-made. Or they've had help, whether that's just some advice, a mentor, a coach, a team. That you can't do it all yourself. And again, would you say that having that mentor, that coach guy, or the guy that you leaned
Oh,
on?
it's definitely helped. Oh, it's definitely helped because as I've built my credibility now, he runs another one of us, but huge and more sophisticated. You know, they buy stuff off of us now, so it's financially helped for certain because we've got exit strategies for the businesses we buy to them or to other people. But you know, they now trust us. He's seen me build over years and years and years, and so I guess that credibility is built in. But yeah, even if it's not a traditional mentor type, just someone who's done it or still doing it and is very successful that can help and provide that advice. So you don't trip up so much, you know, because you can waste years the first 10 years of me being in business, what I've done now, I probably could have done in 2, you know, if I'd have had the right guidance. So absolutely 100%. If somebody's willing to help you, then it's a no-brainer.
Love that. And again, something else I just picked up on what you said, like doing it, you could have done it in 2 years. Like loads of people say like, I learn from my mistakes. That's how I learn. I like to do something and then, you know, learn from other people's mistakes. Yeah, to a degree, you need to learn from your own. But if you can learn from somebody else's, like you say, like that's you know, doing it in 12 or 2, you'd much rather do the 2, right? So yeah, I think that's great advice from somebody who definitely knows what they're doing. I mean, I followed a little bit of your journey on Insta. That's why that's where we got chatting. I was just like, who's this young guy doing it? Well, because you look at it quite.
So Instagram's working then. That's good to know.
There you go.
I thought it was a waste of time, but it's getting me on these podcasts, so no, I can't complain.
Well, there you go. Well, that's where I first seen you. I think anyway. I've definitely seen you on Instagram. But and then I was thinking, well, yeah, he's doing some good stuff. Like, because there's a lot of people out there, as you know, on Instagram in particular, that are just property people. I don't want to ever pigeonhole myself and say I'm just into property because I believe that personally, I believe that business is a better ROI than property. But I think doing both is something that not many can do. And I think that's where it's at, because if you've got something that's potentially sellable or that produces a much higher income than property, you then reinvest that money to produce more money. That kind of business to produce income for property, which then funds more property. That's kind of my thing. I love that cycle. I love that method.
Well, that's it. And I've got to agree with you there because, you know, I'll say something that I'll probably regret, but I think business people make better property investors as well. That's not to say I know some property people that have been doing it for decades and that's all they've done and they're very good and I do ask for their advice on various different things, but I honestly think that business people or people that have done business first to some kind of degree make for better property investors because again, property is a business really, isn't it? I mean, it's a low return business in my view, based on what we do, but it's a safe investment. I see it more as a pension, Terry, to be honest. So when we make excess surplus profits, it's squirreled away. Traditional vanilla deposits, or sometimes a lot of the time we'll just buy stuff outright if it's cheap enough. And just leave it. You know, it's a nice place to keep money because with the sort of money we generate now, it'd be just completely psychotic to keep it all in cash. There's only so much you need as a reserve, and that's a topic of another story. But there's only so much you need as a reserve. Otherwise, it's just dead equity that's just not doing anything. And our business is investment, so we really do squeeze everything out of everything. So I couldn't agree more with you on that point.
I love that. So it's refreshing to speak to somebody else young who's into business and property for sure. I'm certainly not in the place you are with business, but I've got a few businesses that do really well.
But you're not doing bad. Stop being so humble. Yeah. Terry's told me in the background, guys, he's doing all right, actually. He says, but he's doing all right.
Okay, yeah. I'll give myself some credit for once. Anyway, back to you. On just if we keep on the topic of business, because I'm quite interested, and I'm sure our listeners will be also. In your opinion, what makes a good business?
Good management team. If that's the entrepreneur and it's owner operated, which a lot of small businesses are, it's the people. I know that sounds like such a cop out answer, but it's so true. It's the management. Whoever's managing the business, That's the key. It really is. Yeah, I could talk for weeks on that, but yeah, it's the team behind it. It's the passionate central person driving it, and it's ultimately the team around them. Because you're nothing without your team, really. I mean, I couldn't possibly do what I'm doing now without my team. You know, my ops director, the guys in the office. I couldn't do it. It's impossible. Yeah, you're only as good as your team, really, and a business is only as good as its management team, in my opinion.
Love that. No, honestly, I completely agree. It's something that I didn't realize early on, for me anyway, when I started my businesses. It was all like I wanted to do everything myself because nobody can do it as good as me. So I was dipping in between I was wearing so many different hats. But then it was actually Brad Sugars, the action coach guy. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, and it was a local guy called Stuart Wright who I was speaking to. He was like, the definition of a business is a commercial and profitable enterprise that runs and grows without you. And I was like, well, what do you mean? So I got talking to him anyway, and we went through like, you have to be able to remove yourself, and the business has still got to run and grow. And I was like, well, if I'm not there, like it's barely running, definitely not growing, it's going backwards. I was like, oh my God. And then you get your head around into the systems and processes and getting and I was like, and from that point on, everything just flourished. It was literally like a light bulb moment. But that ties in with what you're saying. It's the team and all the stuff that comes with the team, systems, processes, etc. But I just love that, and it'll stick with us forever, that definition.
Yeah, no, and that's important for us as well, because we can't get involved in the business. We don't have a choice, actually, because there's only so many of us in the core team actually at Winch & Co. It's not, all of our employees are all in the businesses that we own. We don't, there's less than 10 of us here. So we don't have a choice. We cannot get involved. We just have to mentor the managing directors, the managers, the CEOs, whatever they want to call themselves in the businesses. We just work with those guys, and they run the business. Somebody was saying to me the other day, oh, you've got to be able to, leave your business for 6 months and it still work. I don't agree with that. You've got to be able to die and your business has still got to work. Otherwise, it's pointless, isn't it? Really. Or at least leave. That's pretty morbid, but at least leave forever or retire. That's a good point. And the business starts to work. 6 months is no good, is it? I mean, it's that's the thing. It's not attractive to a buyer like us. I mean, that's one of the things we look for. If we're going to buy a business, if the owner has any job whatsoever, we're knocking loads off that price, or we're not interested, because you're not going to stick around. When we give you millions of pounds, you're not going to stick around and do your job. So we're going to have to hire. It's a pain in the neck, isn't it, really? So yeah, you've got to, but that's even if you don't want to sell your business, because you need a life. You need to be able to dip in, do some good work, value add stuff, and swan out of the office again and everything be fine. You've got a job if you haven't got that, haven't you, really?
Yeah. You've created a high stress normally. Sometimes high paid, high stress.
High stress.
It needs a lot of attention job.
Putting money in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
Do you come across that a lot? When I don't really know your process, but if you were going to look at a potential business to buy or value or whatever, do you find that a lot, that it is sort of, it's run by a person like that? Is that more common or less common, would you say?
Well, when we started doing this, it was everyone. But because we look at much bigger businesses now, it's less so. However, the owners will say they don't do anything. And then when you get in there and people are coming in asking them questions, they're going out doing this, doing that, doing the other. I'm like, well, actually, you are involved, aren't you? So even with the bigger businesses, the owners, they're stuck in more than they even realise themselves. And there was a particular one we bought recently. I'm not involved in this. Don't do anything. He's been gone now for a couple of months, and there's all sorts of stuff he was doing, and it's causing issues. So. Yeah, it is fairly common with big and small businesses, to be honest. Unless the guy's already retired and he just owns the business, you'll find that they're doing something, because these guys that are successful, they're successful because they're driven and they get involved. So they're always involved until they're not involved, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's very common, very common.
Yeah, I can imagine that. There's certainly a lot of my friends are in that boat, you know. And I think it's a good point as well that you rose there about the bigger they get, it's less likely, although it's still definitely happening. Because at the start, you're the sole trader, you're the
Got to do
one
everything.
man band. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, exactly. And I think ego plays a part in it too, because people want to be, it's me, I'm the business, I do everything, I'm the main
Oh
man,
yeah,
the main woman.
yeah.
That, you know, that definitely plays a part, doesn't it? Um, okay, cool. I was going to ask you property or business, but you kind of answered that already. Business.
Business.
Yeah, yeah, I thought so. And also, I'm just running with this. I know we'll put it back to the normal sort of agenda of the meeting, but I like what you said about, you said something earlier on there earlier about mindset. So, what does mindset mean to you? And is there anything that you sort of contribute your success? Is it down to mindset, or you know, any key habits that you have
Well,
around mindset?
God, making me say stuff I'll regret all the time. No, I think it's so. I'm not this mindset woo woo manifestation.
Law of
I don't
attraction
buy
stuff.
into any of
Yeah.
that. For me, it's a case of I don't need any motivation. I guess I just have this. It's difficult to explain, actually, Terry. I get it done. I've got to get it done. That's it. Whether I'm feeling like shit or whether I'm, motivated to hell, I just got to. I've chosen to do that, so I've got to get it done. It's kind of. So I guess mindset is the right word, but only in the sense that there is no other option, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not doing the cliche failure is not an option. It's just I'm very logical. I'm from a scientific background. I do this. These are the steps to get there, and that's it. There's no other. We just do it, And I think that a lot of people have to. I'm quite lucky in the respect that a lot of people have to really work to get that mindset, I guess. But for me, it's just completely natural. So yeah, I guess I'm lucky in that sense that it's just there's no two questions. It's that's what we've got to do. Right, let's do it then. I think one of the controversial things as well is if you need motivation, I'd say don't become an entrepreneur. I think is a very definitive.
Like that.
Obviously you've got the support of everyone around you, but it can get so crap when you're running your own business or when you're entrepreneurial or whatever. It can get really, really bad, actually, so bad that most people wouldn't cope. So if you're looking for you need motivation and validation all the time, doing this is not for you, I think. But the mindset stuff, I get it, and if that helps people, then that's fantastic. But for us, I guess it just comes naturally without sounding arrogant. It just comes natural. We just get it done. There's no, let's psych ourselves up. It's just a job we've got to do. And we're lucky to, I guess, have that view on things, I suppose.
Yeah, again, just picking up on a few things that you said there, being logical and structured and process driven in your approach.
Yeah.
It is definitely what's needed for your game and my game. I think, and even in property, people get emotionally, yeah, they do. They get emotionally. Oh, but I like the property and this and they're too optimistic and the blah blah blah. Like, you just have a process, have know your numbers, be logical. And I think that's definitely a common trend on the highly successful people that I've met and I know for sure. And just getting, like we said as well, just getting stuff done. Like,
yeah.
I've struggled to manage certain people over the years. My sales team, a lot of them are self-employed. So, some of them obviously being self-employed and sole traders, they've got to get up in the morning. They've got to psych themselves up to go to the gym, get fit, get active, get on it, get on the phones. They don't even get leads. Some of my team will self-generate business and they'll hunt for business every day. So you have to be so on it every day. And I've never struggled with that. But maybe it's like you said, maybe that's just me and you, and some people are just like that. But a lot of people aren't. And I think you're right. It's not nothing against them. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It might just not be for you, this type of environment.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And people like that, they still do build successful businesses.
Yeah,
it's
just in a different way.
Yeah, they'll often say to me, "We've got a holiday this year." No, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. When you enjoy what you do, you don't need so many holidays to recharge all this. Don't get me wrong, I need to recharge now and again. But like this 1, 2 holidays, 3 holidays a year, the last proper holiday I went on was probably 4 years ago. I mean, it's like a broad sort of holiday. Not that you've got any chance at the minute with everything, but but it doesn't bother me. I'm not actually, but it's not draining me to not have time to myself because this is my time. Do you know what I mean? That's again, I'm lucky that I get to feel like that. And I know your business is your baby and it's what you're passionate about. But some people even get tired of that. But it's, again, for me, I've been doing it for so long now. I don't know any different. Yeah, the hard stuff's crap, but you power through it and you get it sorted.
Yeah, it's because it becomes part of your identity. It's who Nathan is. Nathan buys, scales and sells businesses. That's what you do, and I'm with you. Like some people say, do you not burn out, Terry, working? Or I mean, I do go on holidays. I do like holidays. It's a bit different. Before COVID, I used to do like
nothing
6
wrong
a
with
year.
that.
At the minute, it's like 1 or 2 because you just can't book anything with all these rules. But some people say, you're working too much. Slow. You definitely would have heard this, I imagine. You're working too much. Slow down. You're going to burn out. All that nonsense. But if you enjoy it, and you're not like ridiculously neglecting your health and things, like working 20 hours, like some of these investment bankers and things do, like you hear about having heart attacks in the 20s. As long as you're not doing that and you love what you do, like you don't feel that. Like I can't remember I remember feeling tired, of course. I feel quite tired quite a bit, but not burnout, not like breaking down. Oh my God, I don't want to do this no more. I've never felt like that.
No, I've never felt like that, and it's been really, really bad. There's been points where it's been really bad, but I've still never thought. You just get tired, don't you? I suppose that's it. You just get tired sometimes, and other people notice it. But again, even then, other people notice it before I do as well. Like they'll say, "Are you tired?" And I'm like, "Actually, yeah, I think I am." You know what I mean? It's like other people notice it before I do. So that's how. It's not even commitment. It's just what I do. It's just natural and normal. It's weird. I can't really explain it, but yeah, I guess we feel the same in that respect.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. That was great. I think there's some good gems in there as well for the listeners. So if we just pull it back to the sort of middle part. So any career highlights? Is there any key things that you're really proud of, or key things that really push you to the next level, or any discuss sort of lessons?
So I don't know if I mentioned it, but we've just broken through having 100 full-time employees. Now, when you start a business, you're worried, or at least I absolutely remember the first time where I was thinking of taking on another person, and you think, am I going to be able to afford it? This, that, the other. I can still do it if I do this, that. And we've now recently just broken through that, and that's 100 people with kids, mortgages, family, friend, and you think we're providing for all those people. I mean, obviously, they're the ones doing the hard work, but I just think that's a bit of an achievement, and it's crept up on us, Terry. It's not something we've worked towards. You graft and then you blink, and it's like, we've got this huge business and empire or whatever. And so I felt a bit of an achievement, because for me, I like the social aspect of it as well. I do like helping people. In fact, sometimes too much. But I do like helping people, and knowing that we give that many people their sole livelihood is a bit of it's like an achievement, I mean, there's the financial rewards and everything else that's come, but that, for me, that's thinking about the first time where I was worried about taking the first ever person on. It's such a massive gap. Do you know what I mean? And we've got through all that. And so for me, that's the biggest achievement. That was October last year that we broke through that threshold. So yeah, I feel that's probably my best achievement so far. Is 100 people rely on us. It's really good. Yeah.
And is that across all the businesses, or is that?
Well, it's only across the businesses that we own 100% of.
You own 100%. Oh well.
Because we do a lot of angel investment stuff as well, or at least we did. So we've got so we don't include any of that, but just our employees.
Wow, fair play, mate. Fair play.
So it's mental really to think about. It was only just before Christmas I actually sat and thought about it, and I thought, oh God, can't make a mistake. But yeah, no, it's really good. For me, that's an achievement. Yeah, definitely.
It's a huge, not many people break that. I mean, there's over 100 in my organization, but a lot of them are self-employed in salespeople, so it is a little bit different, I feel. What you've achieved, I think, is that is mega. 100 employed. I mean, the payroll, your monthly amounts that you're paying out is obviously a hell of a lot of money.
Huge. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
I don't like paying I like paying the commissions out. I shouldn't say that, but it's like when I'm paying out a couple of $100,000 a month, I'm thinking, oh my God, and I'm paying it, and I'm thinking, the yours would be, I mean,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is, but yeah, not fair play to you, man. Is there anything else that you're really proud of? Any sort of key moments in your career so far?
I think employing our now operations director, because for me, obviously the businesses that we own, we don't get involved in terms of, from our perspective, they're passive in a sense that they're run by people that we employ as managing directors. But recently I've even made this business quite, not passive, I still do work, I still have to do work. But I took on a operations director just under a year ago, so it's coming up to a year now. And that was another big step change, was putting someone on such a high salary, thinking, another, it's a lot to pay, but that one of the best investments I've made, because I can have that month away from work, and we still buy stuff, we're still turning stuff around, it's still operational and working. I think that was another achievement, is taking the step to take somebody on to effectively run my business, which is what he does, and he's very good. I chose to choose someone that was much better than me, much older, late 50s. He's done all sorts. He's run most of the post office at one point in his past life. So it's putting together that team. And I've always talked about it, even when I'm interviewing, you've got to build a good team. But it's only recently that I've built a very good team, and actually took my own advice and spent, which is effectively an investment in these people. But what it's done is, it's really scaled us up in such a short space of time. It's just having that second more experienced pair of eyes. And then the team grew, the core team grew, and it's back to the people, actually. They're all the biggest achievements, at least to me, are all people based. Because I think just being able to employ anybody is an achievement, because you're providing a living to another person, which is, for me, that's important, I think. And of course, all the money that you make as well, but that's by the by, that's a byproduct. I think once you're able to survive off your business, that's when I first saw myself as successful. Because back then I was, really hard on myself. But when I was able to not have any other job, that's when I started thinking, I'm doing all right now. And I could have been like that now and still be happy. I think when your business is able to solely provide for you and your needs, I think that's one of the steps of success. It's got to be, hasn't it? I saw myself as actually semi-successful then. I thought, wow, I don't need another job, and then it grows, doesn't it? So yeah, it's all people based.
Love that. Have you read, I've just literally listened to the audio when I was on holiday last week, and Who Not How.
Oh yeah.
Have you read that book or listened to it?
Yeah, I've read, well, some of it. I can't lie.
Yeah. Honestly, you love it. I think it's right up your street. It's a business one, all about the who's that you have. Instead of thinking, how can I do all of this myself? It's who can I get to help, assist, or do for me to get us collectively to where we want to be. It's one of the best business books I've read or listened to. And it really hits home with me. Just the way you talked about the guy you brought in sounded like the book, but I really recommend that one if you haven't already. Fair play to you, man. I love stories like this where just someone who's came from nothing, young, ambitious, and doesn't seem anywhere near done yet, which leads on to the next bit. What is next for Winch & Co. and Nathan? Where do you want to take it? What's your
So we've got some objectives. So by 2024, we want to be £100 million business, which we're well on track. In fact, we're ahead of schedule for. But touch wood, don't count your chickens. But yeah, we aim, that's our main aim. And then each of the team members all have their own objectives which feed into that. But effectively to be a £100 million business by December 2024, which I think we'll meet. But yeah, it's an ambitious plan. But I think it's doable. Yeah, I'm just getting started. I've had a revitalization since doing this. Because I was kind of not winding down, but I was doing well, not rock the boat, don't need to grow because I'm doing well. People that work for me doing well, but then I've kind of gone again, if that makes sense. And now we're going much bigger, and it's revitalised me, and I'm absolutely we're not even started yet, Terry.
Love that. I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah,
I would be interested if I bet you are 100 mil. I'll see you on a yacht somewhere. If you don't mind disclosing it, like how many businesses is it currently? This 35 plus. Is that like? I'm just more curious. Is it a couple or is it loads of businesses?
Yeah, because we don't include all the ones. So when I say that number, that's the businesses that we own 50% or more of. So we've got about 23 businesses in total that we either own 100% of or have an investment in. So we do the old Dragon's Den style malarkey where we'll invest in a startup. We've just agreed to invest in a new startup this month, actually. So I think there's 22 businesses in total, and then businesses that we either control or own outright, I think is 10, something like that. So that's from the 10, that number. I don't know what the number is overall because we have shares in huge multi-billion mining corporations and stuff. So it's pointless adding that because I can't claim the credit for that. But yeah, it's the businesses that we control or own outright, which again is still good. I mean, you can effectively view those as JVs. There's other investors involved alongside us, but still a business that we jointly own. So throw that in for the vanity of the numbers.
Yeah, mate, whichever way you package it up, it's massively impressive still. There's so many people shouting about how much they've got in property and all this. For me, what you do is much harder than buying property, and that's not putting property down at all. Because I love property and I'm very passionate about it. But it is it's much more difficult dealing with so many moving parts, people, relationships between the people, the industry, the niche, and all these other things that affect it. Competitors. If you buy a property on this street, you can't really be affected by a competitor, can you? Apart from someone else buys one and tries to rent it out. But if you've already got a tenant, like it's apples and pears, isn't it? It's completely different. And to do that scale in the time period that you've done it, I think is unreal. Fair play, man. Fair play.
I appreciate that.
Is there any specific? I know you mentioned transport, I think. So what industries are you specifically in right now?
Oh gosh, I'm looking at them on the wall, actually. So so we're focusing on building a group of companies in the transport industry and in the waste management industry.
Waste management, okay.
We've looked at things like plant hire and stuff, but the two that we're focused on and that we've kicked off are the transport and the waste management. So what we essentially do is we look at industries where they're very fragmented. So basically, for those that don't understand, it's basically industries where there's lots of little businesses and not very many big businesses. So we look to industries like that where we can effectively hoover up little businesses, consolidate them, build a nice big group, slap a new label on it, and effectively sell it on to somebody else. To make it quite crude. In fact, we have an analogy where the businesses that we own, obviously, like property, they pay us to hold them, but we effectively view it as each one of the companies that we own, they're like boxes on the shelf in the warehouse. They're products. We buy them in, and then we need to sell them to make real money. So we use that analogy that it's kind of like our stock, almost, these businesses that we own. And we have to do something to add value, much like you would with a property. You wouldn't buy a clapped out property and then sell it. You have to add value, you have to refurb it. So we don't typically do turnarounds, so we don't take on distressed businesses, but we've taken on businesses where there's lots of room for improvement. And then obviously we do that, and then we either sell that individual business on, or we add it into the group if we've got an investment mandate, which we do for transport and waste management. So we've started already. We've made a couple of acquisitions for the transport group, and the waste management. We're in talks with some people. So the waste management group will probably grow to about 20 million, and then we've already got a buyer lined up. We just have to hit the targets in that business, and then they'll buy that group off of us. And the waste management's fairly early on. That's only started this month, but we're in talks with people already. People that want to retire. It's the same old motivated seller. People want to retire, or they want to move on, or whatever. The property investors listening, they'll know all about that. And it's the same story, really. It's just a bit more complicated, as you say. It's once you complete, it's not just, we'll get in there, get the keys. It's, you don't know what you're going to find, because there's only so much due diligence can uncover. As we've known time and time again, and we always say after an acquisition, we're going to do better due diligence next time, but you can never pick everything up. So that's essentially what we do. We're building a group. We own individual businesses. We have investments in businesses, but then we have this sort of secondary thing where we buy businesses that are all similar, roll them up and sell them on. And that's what we're doing. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. So I think, because you said you were going to ask me about what key industries to look for. So for me, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I've been known to be wrong, Terry. I know it's unbelievable, but I'm leaning towards asset-rich businesses. I think in this world of Bitcoin and NFTs and the metaverse, I'm feeling like asset-based businesses are going to become a hot commodity, because you've still got to provide, right? It's like with property. Let's say everybody enters the metaverse or whatever nonsense it is. There's still that real world that needs servicing. So I'm leaning towards, people keep telling me you need to invest in this, that, the other. And it's pushing me more and more into asset-based businesses like transport, lorries, vans, premises. It's pushing us into waste management, facilities, recycling plants. I'm just being pushed more and more into these asset-based industries. And you get a feeling of really gritty, raw, what I like to call real business, not to put other businesses down, because we have investments in marketing agencies and things like that, and they serve a purpose and they do good work. But for me, it's like that, you go there and you can hear the diggers and things like that, and you think, we own this. And that's, for me, that's really, because you look at them and traditionally you think, big business, expensive, all the rest of it, and they are. But when you get into it, it's for me, it's been more sense of achievement doing that than things like the supplies businesses or the web agencies I've had in the past. It just feels more real, because you can see it. Do you know what I mean? You can see the processes. Yeah. So yeah, for me, that's where we're focused at the moment. Asset heavy businesses.
No, I like that. Going against the grain and going against things that, it's almost things that can't be disrupted by technology.
That's what I mean. Can't be disrupted. I mean, they've got to invent teleportation before we go out of business. So it's my grandkids will be long dead by that point. I don't know with the rate they're going actually, but
Elon Musk will probably try.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm worried actually now. Well, he can buy our business then. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at the moment, and I'm a big fan now of that, and I'm getting more and more into it. We've recently bought in October last year. We also bought a prefabricated buildings manufacturer, because obviously it ties into the property stuff. Looking at things like affordable housing, I'm like, can that tie into this? Can that become part of our property business, which we have separate? And it's just trying to see where the opportunities are, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, man, love that. I could ask you loads of questions, to be fair, but I'm just conscious of time, because I love the subject of business, because we talk about property enough, so it's refreshing. Just one last one before we wrap up, I suppose. I wanted to ask, I certainly have felt this quite a bit when I was younger. Age barriers in business. You're too young for this. You're too young for that. Didn't get taken seriously.
Yeah.
Did you come across that? And if so, how did you deal with it?
I didn't early on. because I guess people expect new businesses, entrepreneurial types to be younger. But as we've gone more professional in private equity, which is very old boys network, it's the business of business, private equity, so it's the business of money. Nothing I've noticed, but sometimes I feel it. So in the office, we got a lot of young guys in the office as well. So I'll walk into a room and I'm either really young or I'm really old. I'm at that age. I think in your 30s, you're either really young or you're really old, depending on what room you're in. So I'm feeling that at the moment. But I get around it by employing decent people. So a lot of the senior people in my business, I don't think there's one of them under the age of 50. And my ops director, I said I would say I'd bring him on as a bit of grey hair, but he's bald, so I can't say that. But he's, but I can. In fact, I do get it, and I'll tell you why, Terry. Because when we're in a meeting sometimes, and I'm sat there dressed what I'm in with my trainers and stuff, and then there's Sean, my ops director, sat there in his suit and his glasses and all the rest of it, and you'll see that when people are talking to us, they're talking to him. And they're not really looking at me much. I honestly don't mind that. But actually, thinking about that, not that that's a problem, but people make that unconscious bias, I think. Yeah. But we've got around it by employing these people. So I've got the senior people, who, ironically enough, behind closed doors are asking me question after question, asking for advice. And again, it works. It's a dynamic that works. I think if it does bother people, it's never really bothered me, but for those people that it does bother, I think just be wary of that in your recruitment. Get people that are more experienced. Because you'll find that they can help you anyway, and they can help you with things that you're just not old enough to have experienced yet. So there's a lot of things I learned off Sean and the other older guys in my team, and vice versa. So it works. Yeah. So I think there has been that unconscious bias. But it's not necessarily affected me, or maybe it doesn't now because of the steps I've taken to introduce those people. But it's certainly there.
Using your team, it's a good point. I think just when it wasn't more my team, because you're right, in the recruitment, if you don't get that good feel in the interview, you could suss that out quite early, couldn't you?
Yeah.
In the interview, if they're thinking that, I know better because I'm older. It was more clients in and around businesses, collaborating with other businesses and growth. It was more around that because, like, when I was 19, when I started, like, I like to think I look young now. I don't know if I look young now, by the way, but I looked really young when I was 19, and like, I just didn't get taken seriously. But I used that as like a fire, as like a motivation to say, I'm going to be the best at what I do, regardless of my age. I just didn't know if you had a similar thing, but no, that's cool. That's cool. So Nathan, the show's called The Rags to Riches Show. So what does being rich mean to you? Because you can be rich in time, assets, monetary terms, loads of different things. But what does being rich mean to you?
Loving what you do and enjoying every minute of it. Again, I can't stand cliches. Punch people in the face that are very cliche. But yeah, no, it is. It's like we said before, not minding that I've not been on a holiday. I think that is success. It's when you enjoy what you do and you can afford to do it. For me, that's rich and success. We could go on hundreds, billions of pounds eventually, but I'm feeling comfortable and I'm feeling successful at the moment, which is where you want to be, in it really. It's different for every person.
Yeah, definitely. Success means different things to different people, doesn't it? And as long as you feel successful, whether that's 50 grand or $1 million a year, it doesn't matter, as long as you feel happy, content, you've got everything that you want and need. And that's all that matters. But good answer. I think you're right. It means different things to different people. But thank you so much for the episode, Nathan. I've really enjoyed it. If anyone wants to reach out to you, if anyone wants to sell a business in transport or waste management, or if anyone just wants to follow your journey, what is the best way for them to
So I'm knocking about on social media, Instagram, as Terry's kindly pointed out. So I think all of my social media is all the same. So it's all one word: Nathan, the letter J, Winch, and then our investment business website's winchandco.com. So if anybody is interested, wants to retire, wants to exit their business, wants to make a bit of money, we're acquisitive. We're buying at the moment, so get in touch. Yeah, but you'll find me online. Do a Google search. I'm sure I'm knocking about somewhere.
Cool. When you sell your business to Nathan, just mention the code Terry B, and I'll get a kickback. No, I'm joking. No, honestly, Nathan, thank you so much. Really appreciate it today. Thank you for your time, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Smashing. Thank you very much, Terry. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, mate.